There was a almost $2 billion or trillion in that. Come on, Mike, calm down. In that $2 trillion stimulus package that Biden signed into law a year ago, I'm not talking about the one that the Christian Nazi mansion and cinema have decided not to go along with, but the one that Biden signed into law about a year ago. It had in it a long-awaited relief for black farmers. It included $4 billion of debt forgiveness for not just black farmers, but other socially disadvantaged farmers. A group that, according to New York Times, has had to deal with decades of discrimination from banks and the federal government. And the Times cites as an example Brandon Smith. He's a fourth-generation cattle rancher from Texas, a black father of 4, and he owes about $200,000 in outstanding loans on his ranch. And he went ahead and signed and returned the documents to the Agriculture Department last year to avail himself of this relief. And in doing that, he formally accepted the debt relief. He then purchased more equipment for his ranch because he knew he had been given a financial lifeline. Okay, debt forgiveness for this shit. Instead, here it comes, right? Brandon Smith has now gotten deeper into debt because months after signing the paperwork that he received, he got a notice informing him that the federal government intended to accelerate, that was their word, foreclosure on his 46-acre property and cattle if he did not start making payments on the loans he believed had been forgiven. The notice came from the federal government. The federal government is run right now by Biden and Democrats. Smith, in an interview, said, the farmer, Brandon Smith, he said, quote, "I trusted the government that we had a deal. And down here at the end of the day, the rug gets pulled out from under me." End quote. Here's the reality, and this is something else that this is so fucking unfair and mean and vicious. Black farmers have yet to see any of Joe Biden's promised relief. Now, granted, Biden pledged to pursue policies to promote racial equity and correct decades of discrimination. But you see, legal issues, here we go again, have complicated what Biden's trying to do. Let me give you some background here from the Times. In May 2021, the Agriculture Department started sending letters to borrowers who were eligible to have their debt cleared, asking them to sign and return forms confirming their balances. The payments, which also are supposed to cover tax liabilities and fees associated with clearing the debt, the payments were expected to come in phases beginning in June. But the entire initiative has been stymied because of lawsuits from white farmers and groups representing white farmers that question whether the government could offer debt relief based on race. Oh my fucking goodness. The discrimination, the shit dumped on black people was based on race. But ask for relief based on race? Oh, well, no, nuh-uh. So courts and it's not just in the South, courts in Florida and Wisconsin have issued preliminary injunctions against this initiative that Biden tried to get through. And the courts have sided with the plaintiffs, so white farmers who argue that the debt relief amounted to discrimination and therefore could be illegal. I mean, the fucking nerve of this. And in Texas, there's a class action lawsuit against the Department of Agriculture. And it's working its way through the courts. Well, what is this about? Because black farmers are asking for fucking relief. And it was given to them, and other groups too. But the fascist Christians say, oh, no, fuck no. Now, the Biden administration, and I don't know why this, maybe it has to do with the shit going on in Russia and Ukraine today, but the Biden administration has not appealed the injunctions. I don't get that. But a spokeswoman for the Agriculture Department said it was continuing to defend the program in the courts as the cases move forward. Oh, big fucking deal. Why not? And I don't understand this. Who's advising Biden? You know, every time the filthy pig bastard Trump gets hit with another order from the court, they immediately, Jesus Christ, the ink is dry on the injunction or the order by the ink isn't dry on the order from the court before the Trump scum will file an injunction and usually get it. And Biden is not, come on, Joe, learn from the orange vomit. You're going to let this shit happen? So all of this has created this unexpected financial strain for black farmers. And think about this. So many of these black farmers have been unable to make investments in their businesses because of the uncertainty about their debt load. But it also poses a political problem for Mr. Biden. For President Biden. You know, he got the presidency because of the power of black voters, including black farmers. And I mean, part of this is politics. If you can step outside of the racism, part of it is politics. When you make a promise in the political arena in order to get elected, you goddamn sure better keep that promise. If you're honest and legitimate. I'm not talking about the promises that the fascist Christians make. But the law that Biden signed that has this money available until the white devils decided to stop it with the court orders. The law is intended to help remedy years of discrimination that non-white farmers have endured, including land theft. Because they didn't have a title. They didn't have a clear title. Land that had been in a black family for 100 years, 150 years. Land that had been taken from them during the so-called Civil War. And because they didn't have, a clear deed or a clear title, they lost their land. So it wasn't just that. That's land theft. But the rejection of loan applications by banks and the federal government over and fucking over again. And this law was intended to help those people. And the program designated aid to about 15,000 black farmers who receive loans directly from the federal government or have their bank loans guaranteed by the Department of Agriculture. And those eligible included farmers and ranchers who have been subjected to racial or ethnic prejudice, including those who are black and Native American and Alaskan Native and Asian American and Pacific Islanders and Hispanics. Did I leave anybody out? What the fuck is wrong with white people? And after that initiative was rolled out last year, it met swift opposition. Banks were unhappy that the loans would be repaid early. Not that the loans would be defaulted on, but paid early, which would deprive them of interest payments. And then groups of white farmers in Wisconsin and North Dakota and Oregon and Illinois sued the Department of Agriculture, arguing that offering debt relief on the basis of skin color, is discriminatory. And these lawsuits suggested that a successful black farmer could have his debts cleared while a struggling white farm could go out of business. Oh, my fucking word. And then you have something called America First Legal. That's a group led by the Nazi Jew, Stephen Miller, who was always hovering around Trump, whispering bullshit into his ear. But Stephen Miller, filed a lawsuit making a similar argument in U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Texas, that this was discriminatory. I mean, I said it before, the fucking nerve. After centuries of enslavement and Jim Crow and discrimination and denial and ill treatment and bad treatment and racist treatment and murder and mayhem and lynching, and then these fuckers have the balls to say, well, wait a second, you can't do that for these black farmers because, it's based on race. So last June, before the money started flowing, a federal judge in Florida blocked the program on the basis that it applied, quote, strictly on racial grounds, irrespective of any other factor. So these son of a bitches use a specious argument of anti-racism to enforce racism. But that's what fascist Christians do. And these delays, as you could well imagine, have pissed off black farmers that the Biden administration and Democrats in Congress were trying to help. The black farmers argue that the law was poorly written and that the White House is not defending it forcefully enough in court out of fear that a legal defeat could undermine other policies that are predicated on race. So here's another group of African Americans, of black Americans, who are having the shit kicked out of them for no reason other than the fact that they are who they are. I mean, it just seems like it will never, ever, ever stop. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcasts. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.